I'm Stan Lee. I've been writing stories for the young generation for the past 30 years. During this time, I think I've learned a lot about what young people think. More importantly, I think I've learned a lot about what young people are. We're going to try to present a voice that somebody will listen to. The voice is needed. We hope it will be ours.
Permission to come aboard.
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
And here we go.
Live from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, welcome back to the Confirmed Epic Podcast, the official podcast of the epicreview.com and proudly presented by the Geeks Worldwide Radio Network. I, of course, am one of your hosts, the real Brad Bell, and joining me tonight on this very special return episode after a hiatus is my lovely wife, the mother of Beagles, the mother of Harper, Mrs. Abby Bell. Abby, welcome back to the Confirmed Epic Podcast.
Thank you.
Today's a very special day because not only is it the return of the Confirmed Epic Podcast after a hiatus involving a lot of childcare, but it is Abby and I's 4th wedding anniversary. Happy wedding anniversary, Abby.
Thank you.
And one of her gifts to me is doing this podcast and trying to make this podcast return. So why were we not here and why are we back now? All right, a big reason we weren't here is because we're new parents. And guess what? Having a kid's hard, isn't it, Abby?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're tired.
And she's a good baby, too. It's not like she's terrible.
No, she's in her swing right now. She's pretty content. But if you hear
For
somebody screaming, it's not Abby because she don't want to be on this podcast. It's Harper in the background who is a little antsy. But one thing that I'm excited to announce is kind of not a new format, but a new hosting style for the Confirmed Epic Podcast. We're going to basically be rotating hosts. So one week we'll have Abby on, the next week we'll have Jerry on. This just makes it easier to maintain family life and put out content for you guys, hopefully almost every week. All right, so what do we have in store for you today? Well, you heard me mention that we're excited to return, and one of the things we want to do in this return episode is get back to basics. No more of that topical bullshit that we did in episode 100. Rather, this is going to be the classic Confirmed Epic Podcast in which you're going to have what we've been checking out, a few epic news items this week, and instead of a featured review, we're going to do a featured discussion, and that is in tribute to the one, the only, the now late Stan the Man Lee. So I thought everybody's going to be talking about Stan Lee on their podcast this week. What is something different that we could do? And while there may be many YouTube videos that do this, I don't know if there's any podcasts that have really done this. We're going to count down our top 10 favorite Stan Lee Marvel cameos. So I'm really excited about that and just kind of have a general discussion about Stan Lee and his characters and the impact they've had, not only on our lives, but the lives of people all over the world, geeks and non-geeks. So we're sorry about Hokey Halloween Horror. Jerry and I will definitely review the new Halloween 2018 film when it hits home video. So no worries there. I think it's going to be out around February, and look for a review around then. But without further ado, let's get episode 102 of the Confirmed Epic Podcast underway and get into what we've been checking out this week.
Check checklist? Check. Double check checking of checklist? Check.
So Abby, what have you been checking out this week?
We watched Crazy Rich Asians
Yeah.
this week for the first time. I know it's been out for a while, but we haven't gotten to watch it yet.
Oh, no, we don't get to watch many movies at all. We have to wait to home video. Been doing a lot of digital movies. So this film's directed by Jonathan Chu, who did G.I. Joe, Retaliation, did like one of the Step Up movies, I think. So, Abby, what did you think about this movie? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I liked it. It was kind of long. It was like, what, 2 hours?
It was long. It was like
And you told me it's like a trilogy. I didn't know that. I thought it was just a standalone movie.
It's a
based on a
trilogy.
book.
A book, yes. I forgot the people who wrote the book,
Yeah.
but they've been selling like hotcakes lately since this movie came out. What was crazy about Crazy Rich Asians is this movie was #1 at the box office for 3 weeks in a row. And it was the first time in the United States you had a movie at the box office led by an entirely Asian cast.
Right.
#1 at the box office 3 weeks in
That's
a row.
good.
I really enjoyed this movie.
I know, it was good.
I didn't think it would be that
Like,
good.
it wasn't on my list of things I wanted to see, but I'm glad we watched it. It was something different, but I really liked it.
On Rotten Tomatoes, I think it was like low 90s or high 80s. I mean,
Really?
critics really liked this movie.
Well, that's
and
good.
There's a lot I liked about it, and there's some things I didn't like about it, but
It was visually a beautiful movie.
it really captured like the area of Singapore and the architecture and things of that nature that we don't have here in the United States. And I mean, yes, they're crazy rich, but there's a wedding scene at the end that is
Oh,
just,
God, it's stunning.
it's just mind-blowing.
I know.
It really is. And this film stars Constance Wu in the lead role. She is from
Oh,
Fresh Off the Boat,
yeah.
that
She
ABC
played the mom
sitcom.
on that show.
I don't think that show comes on anymore.
I don't know.
But she's 36.
She does not look 36. She looks like she's like 20,
Like 27, 28.
21, 22.
I don't know if she looks that young.
She's,
but
yeah, I mean,
She looks really young. The only thing I didn't necessarily like about this movie, and I know I'm not the first one to say this about it, but man, it really... Do you feel like the movie kind of worshiped money? To an extent, like it was almost like this world of excess.
well, it was
that-
always like surrounded over money. Like the guy that she's dating came from a rich family, and
like one of the richest
they live
families
in
Asia.
excess, and all the other families in Singapore know about them because they're so rich. And
And she's like an economics professor at NYU.
that
like,
came from like a single mom.
Yeah, super successful, but by their standards, she
No,
might as well just
not
be a
even.
peasant.
Yeah.
Because they're billionaires. Here's the thing about this movie that I didn't enjoy. I feel like that everybody in this movie, except for the two main leads, were just unlikable. Like everybody was just kind of douchey or dumb. Not dumb. Dumb's not the right word, but there were a lot
Like
of
into
dumb
social
characters.
media.
Yeah, very shallow. Maybe
Right.
that was the point they were trying to go for in this film. They were trying to kind of elevate those two leads. Like, here's this, world of just excess and just muck and just nothingness, but materialism. And these two kind of are rising above it.
Like he's expected to take over the family business, but he's not really willing to because of his relationship with Constance.
And one thing is, too, that he has a line when they're flying to Singapore that he never considered that money to be his money. He considered it to be his family's money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're two really strong and well-written lead characters.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, they're both likable.
Yeah, that makes the movie work. It does have some predictability to it. Like, there was one character who I thought was for sure somebody's ex. And it
it
turns
was.
out 10 minutes later, sure enough, that was somebody's ex. So there is that. I mean, this movie made a ton of money, so there's no doubt they're going to complete this trilogy. And I will definitely watch the other two, like, when they come out. But it was something different. It was almost like My Big Fat Greek Wedding meets Wall Street or something. Like, all this money, all this big family. But the family...
Or The Great Gatsby.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. It felt very like the way they lived was like 1920s, roaring 20s, like right before
Having huge parties, a huge wedding reception, just like extravagant.
It had Ching Yang from Silicon
Yeah.
Valley on it, which
Playing
he
a
played
douche.
the exact same character, except he was basically an asshole. The exact
Except a
same
rich
character.
one.
Yeah, except he was rich. The lady that played what was that character's name that was just stunning?
Astrid,
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
she
my
was
God.
beautiful.
She was gorgeous. She was always
She was
dressed
actually
gorgeous.
a good one because, you know.
She was good, but her husband was a piece of crap. I'm trying to look up the person that played.
Because he wasn't from money either, so he always felt like she held that above his head. He was always intimidated by the fact that she came from money and he didn't.
Yeah.
And so she would buy stuff and then hide it, which, who hasn't done that? I've bought stuff.
I've never done that, Abby.
My mom used to do that all the time. She would go out shopping, buy stuff, and hide it from my dad.
No. I can't imagine that whatsoever. So that's Crazy Rich Asians. If I was rating it, I'd give it a great, about 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah, I would rate it the same thing.
Yeah, it was really enjoyable. Check out John Chu's Crazy Rich Asians if you haven't already.
Oh, who else was in it? That guy that's in The Hangover.
Oh, yeah. God, what is his name?
I don't know his name.
He's Mr. Chow in The Hangover.
Yeah. You want me to look it up?
Hold on. He is like... He's the most famous, probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous, like Asian actors in all of America. Of course, he's, Asian American, but
Ken Jeong.
God, I can't believe I blanked on his name. He's on Community. He's on The Hangover. He had a brief stint as a show where he played a doctor.
Yeah,
which he is.
He was in real life. Yeah,
and he played that hilarious doctor on Knocked Up.
Yeah,
but that's when I first saw him. This Harry. No, never mind. I was trying to figure out who played Astrid on this movie, and I just cannot find it on the Wikipedia page. But she was definitely one of the more interesting. She was probably, like you said, one of the only 3 likable characters in this film. Let me ask you this. Would you have any... I know we don't have much free time at all. I mean, we are legit working to put this podcast on for you as we, handle a 6.5
Right now, Harper's on Brad's lap trying to grab the microphone.
So we don't have a lot of free time. We gotta manage it very wisely, the free time we get. But could you imagine yourself like at Polly's this year, maybe reading one of these books, Abby?
Yeah, sure. I would do that.
But what would you do? Would you reread the first one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and then just
because a lot of times books have more detail anyway, so...
It is Gemma Chan who plays Astrid.
Oh,
and
okay.
she is apparently a pretty big she's going to be in Captain Marvel. Wow. That's pretty cool. I know. Oh my God. She was in Transformers The Last Night as Quintessa. And she is in Fantastic Beasts. So she's been in a lot of stuff. Been in Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. But I give it a great. What do you think? You go with a great, like a 4 out of 5 on it, Abby?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move into something that Harper and I were checking out, which is
Lord.
Hereditary.
No.
Harper is a big
she's not.
horror fan. No, I just like teasing Abby because
whenever I'm at work, he'll watch horror movies.
I love horror. I don't obsess with horror, but Hereditary.
Really?
Okay, maybe I do. I didn't subscribe, but I did. I gotta be honest. I started buying Scream magazine, which is like the Empire magazine. It's the UK's and I think the world's #1 horror magazine. It only comes out once every other month. And if you hadn't checked out Scream magazine, if you're a horror fan, it's basically what Fangoria used to be, which was the famous American horror publication that recently made a comeback. But we checked out. I'm joking about Harper because she was asleep and turned away from.
Yeah, I'm sure she was.
We checked out Ari Aster's Hereditary. I felt like this was something. You don't talk about FOMO. This was considered like one of the best modern horror movies, and it came out this past. It was January at Sundance, but it hit the theaters in the United States this summer, so it was a summer film. Abby. This is one of the scariest modern movies I've ever seen.
No thanks.
I'm
not into that.
Isn't it, Harper? Can you give them your opinion? Did you like Hereditary? I would say that the best way to describe Hereditary is the Conjuring meets The Shining.
Nope.
It really, Ari Aster did have that uneasy, unsteady, Stanley Kubrick feel. That flair he put to this movie, but it definitely felt like its own. It was filled with just scare the hell out of you moments, but it wasn't in your face or overt about it. It was very subtle, and it was a slow burn.
Was there anything that like jumped out at you?
There was stuff that just appeared. For example, you would be in a room at night, and it would show like one of the main characters. And I'm not gonna spoil Hereditary here, but it would show like one of the main characters sleeping, and all of a sudden there would be somebody up in the corner of the wall.
No.
So the premise of this movie.
That's like one of my biggest fears.
I mean, I guess this is a mild spoiler for Hereditary. So, skip forward on your iPad, however you're listening, or whatever listening device you're using, maybe like 3 minutes. But a woman who's estranged from her mother dies, but she still has trouble, even though it's an estranged mother, dealing with the death of her mother. Shortly after that, her son dies.
Oh.
And the way her son dies is just absolutely insane. I won't spoil it.
Was it traumatic?
Here. Oh my God. You want me to tell you how?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to watch it.
All right. So it's a family of 4, mom and dad, a young 13-year-old girl. She's meant to be like a freshman in high school. And then a boy who's like 17, probably meant to be like a junior in high school.
Yeah.
And so he's going to this party. The mom wants the older brother to take Charlie, which is the girl, to the party.
Really?
That was the younger sister's name. She really don't want to go. It's established early in the film that Charlie has a peanut allergy. All right, they go to this party. He wants to go smoke pot with this girl that he's into. Leaves Charlie alone in the living room with all these irresponsible high school partiers. And somebody gives Charlie some cake. It had nuts in it. His throat starts swelling up, and the brother, who's high as a kite at this point, starts panicking, picks Charlie up, puts him in their Subaru Outback was the car they were driving. And I think this took place in like Montana or New Mexico, because they were like out in the middle of freaking nowhere in this movie. Abby, he's going like in the back having an anaphylactic reaction. Look at me with my medical terms. And he's trying to get air, right? And you think, oh my God, this kid's going down in this back seat. His throat's closed, so he rolls the window down, he sticks his head out, and his head hits a pole and it decapitates him.
Wow.
And it is freaking so disturbing.
Is it graphic?
Yes, so the mom wants to communicate with her son, so she starts embracing the supernatural and doing seances, and it invites one of the 7 most powerful demons of hell into their house.
Oh my God.
And then, that's all I'm gonna say right there.
No, you don't need to say anymore.
I think that is enough said, but check out Hereditary. I mean, it's an epic horror film, especially for modern horror. It's the best modern horror movie that I saw since...
Better than Halloween?
Oh, yeah. It's a way better movie than Halloween 2018. But it's the best modern horror movie I've seen probably since the first...
Piranha 3D?
No, that was that was definitely... We're going to watch Meg and maybe review it next week. So that,
I don't know.
That may surpass
I don't know if I want to watch Meg.
So Harper and I also checked something else out. I recently got into collecting vinyl. Now, Abby, you're a vinyl collector, right?
Yeah, but I collect, music that I love, not soundtracks.
Well,
albums that I love.
I love movie soundtracks. I love movie soundtracks.
My thing is, though, when are you going to listen to a movie soundtrack? Like, are you going to sit
there?
there?
When you're not here.
Okay. But what I like to do is at night or around dinner time, I like to put a record on and drink a glass of wine and like relax with baby, or when I'm cooking. That's like my favorite time to play records. So I can't picture you like putting on a soundtrack and doing
about said Abby and I, Harper and I, the other night
Why is it always you two?
Because we're always together.
No, that is not true.
It feels that way. You were Abby.
Oh well, when we're home with her, it always feels like she's with us because she is. We never leave her.
Right? Abby worked 4 out of the
5 days, 13 to 14 hours
so
a day.
Abby's a nurse, you may know this, but I read Harper a book and I played with art by Ryan Tobin, great Mondo poster artist, the Quiet Place soundtrack. Andrew Stokes says, is the soundtrack just all silence?
Right.
Which it wouldn't. It has a great score. I'm trying to look up who did it right quick. I Oh, man. I'm in love with these soundtracks, Abby. That's like all I'm getting for Christmas, it feels like.
That's all I'm getting from Christmas.
Yeah, we're going to have like all records. I joke that we're going to need a bigger like place to store our record collection. But Abby is right. She's kind of, I don't know, you're not mad at me for it, but I like a lot of it for the art.
Yeah, and that's not why you buy vinyl, though.
Why?
Because, like, some of my favorite records don't have, like, the best album cover.
The music's by Marco Beltrami. It's a great...
What would you say is the
score.
record we play the most in our
Sgt.
house?
Peppers. No doubt, because that's what
Harper
likes.
loves Sgt. Peppers.
Because Harper likes the Beatles. But, I mean... I look forward to getting a lot more of Mondo's vinyl. I'm getting a lot for Christmas from my parents and my grandmother, so I'm really excited.
I'm surprised you didn't
excited
say me.
about that. Oh yeah, you're getting me one. I'm trying to on Black Friday. They're putting the '89 Batman soundtrack on sale. I think around 1:00 Eastern, and they're gonna do like a limited run of 2,000 copies of that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And hopefully I can snag that. It's got art by Killian Ean. But, so that is a highly recommended soundtrack. Even if you have like Apple Music, just check it out. You don't remember how good the music is for that movie. And it's something that I look forward to really collect. Because I can't collect many more Mondo posters because they take up so much wall space. So this is kind of a way for me to collect the Mondo art, but also get something that I can actually use too. But
yeah,
unless you got anything, I think that's going to do it for what we've been checking out this week. Let's move on to our next segment, which is the epic news items of the week. One of the biggest things we got this week was the teaser trailer for Toy Story 4, which comes out this June.
I didn't see that.
Well, I would have showed that to you, and usually I would like play a clip from the teaser trailer for this kind of conversation. But it didn't show anything hardly. It was music playing. It showed all the characters like walking in a circle with the cloud wallpaper in the background.
At the end of the third one, they ended up in like a little girl's house, right?
Oh, spoilers, Abby. Yeah, they did. They did.
Like Andy gave them to the little child.
Yeah, there was a cool teaser poster with like Woody tipping his hat, but it still really wasn't much to see.
Yeah, I always said if I had a boy, I would make his room like Andy's room.
And this
like
movie,
with the clouds and all the little Toy Story toys.
This movie comes out 6/21/19. Both of you and I grew up with Toy Story.
Yeah.
The plot of this movie is Woody pursues his ultimate love, Little Bo Peep, and a wedding is planned.
Really?
Does that sound interesting to
No.
you?
That doesn't sound very Toy Story.
I mean, compared to the apparently Little Bo Peep goes missing, and the Toy Story gang goes to find her because Woody's always wanted to basically profess his undying love to her, and he never has. But I guess something happens. She gets sold, she gets lost, she gets donated to Goodwill. I don't know, and the gang has to go look for Little Bo Peep. Look, it's Toy Story, it's Pixar. It's going to be good. It's not going to be some terrible piece of crap. But do you think it was a good idea for Disney to do another one? I mean, Toy Story 3
I think they left
was perfect.
it off on a perfect note. I don't know why they need to, Well, I guess it makes a lot of money, so.
That's why.
Yeah.
But it's 3 like perfect films. We're in this like era where nothing can be left alone. Like Star Wars, you can't just have the original trilogy. Lord of the Rings, you can't just have the original trilogy. We need all these Hobbits. You need all these prequels. And now with Toy Story, they're wanting to just go. And does that kind of like dilute the legacy of something like Toy Story? Like, if this movie comes out and it's just a piece of crap, is it gonna make you like any of the other Toy Stories less?
No, I don't think so. It's just gonna be like they shouldn't have made that movie. Like, the first Pirates of the Caribbean was like epic.
That's a good example too.
But all the other movies were crappy. I didn't like any of them besides the first one. And it didn't dilute the fact that I really loved the first one at all. I'm not gonna watch the others ever. Like, I'll watch the first one over and over again, but not
any of the others, I assume. But Abby, they're going to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean. That's another rumor.
What?
Yeah, they're
what do you
going to
mean?
cast somebody else as Jack Sparrow.
What?
Now that's what people are speculating, but they don't need to reboot Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's too soon.
That's the thing. That was the thing with Spider-Man is it was like a couple of years after the Tobey Maguire movies.
They came out with the Andrew Garfield one.
I about said Tom Holland. Yeah, you got the Andrew Garfield one. Then you got the Tom Holland. It was just that did kind of dilute that character because it was too many reboots. Just boom, boom, boom.
Well, I think that's why people didn't really take to the Garfield ones that much because we just had Tobey Maguire's trilogy.
I thought it was because he hated Mondays.
Huh?
Like Garfield the cat?
Oh,
you meant Andrew Garfield playing. Okay, I got you. That's my dad joke, Abby.
You're so stupid.
But I'm looking forward to Toy Story 4. I'm going to definitely watch it when it comes out. I mean, would Harper be old enough to go see it?
When is it?
It's this June, so she'll be
well, she'll be like, how old?
13 months?
Yeah.
Or
no, she'll be 14 months.
14 months.
I don't know. I think that's still young.
Yeah, it's probably still too young. Will, friend of the show, who's been on this podcast a bunch, he took his kid to see the brand new Mission Impossible at 1 month.
How'd that go?
She slept, Hazel. She slept the whole time. They went to like a midday screening after it had been out a little bit, and she slept the whole time. They took the bottle, fed her, he rocked her in there. I could not.
My nerves couldn't take that.
No, it's hard enough podcasting.
But Harper doesn't really nap that well. She'll sleep all night, but she'll just take little cat naps here and there. So I don't trust Harper in that kind of situation. She'd just wake up and start screaming.
Speaking of people you don't trust and can make you scream, let's talk about Chucky.
I've never even seen that.
And that's fine. The same day that Toy Story is coming out, there's another toy movie coming out. Orion Pictures, which is an old studio that's kind of been bought out and resurrected, is doing a Child's Play remake. Abby, you've never seen any of the Child's Play movies. I understand that. But do you find Chucky as like a scary thing? This doll is possessed. Basically, he's a doll who's possessed by a serial killer, and he starts to kill his owners and people who bring him in. Does that scare you at all, or do you think it's just dumb?
I just think it's dumb. Like, Annabelle is a scary doll, but not Chucky.
So many people are afraid of Chucky. Like, they have big phobias. I had friends growing up, like, we would walk by Spencer's in the mall, and Spencer, I think they still do, but Spencer's used to sell, like, these close to authentic good guy dolls, Chucky doll, and it gave them the heebie-jeebies, man. Like, I never got that.
Well, like, because of is it The Conjuring? With Annabelle?
Conjuring's Annabelle, yeah.
Okay. I don't like the Raggedy Ann dolls anymore. Because the original doll is a Raggedy Ann doll.
I would never buy Harper.
I know. And I had one of those growing up, and I'm like, nope. Not doing that.
What if we got your old one and it looked all old?
No, we're not doing that. It's probably in my parents' attic, and I'm not doing that.
I bet that looks like the original Annabelle. Now, because it's all beat up, and it is like literally a Raggedy Ann.
I don't know. I'm not getting that thing out.
Chucky's never been really scary to me either. I've seen the first two. There's like 7 Child's Play movies. I have not seen all of them. Is there any way in hell you would ever watch this movie? I know not go see it.
No, I don't have any desire to waste my time on that.
Why not?
I'd rather do something else. Because our time is precious now more than ever, and it's like I'm not going to watch something I really don't want to watch.
All right, Abby, on from something that you don't like, Chucky, to 2 things you really like. So HBO released the first teaser trailer for Game of Thrones Season 7.
When you play the Game of Thrones, you win. Or you die.
One war that matters. And it is here.
Abby, this trailer didn't show much, but did it not get you pumped as hell for the 7th?
Oh,
No, this is the 8th season, sorry.
Yeah. Well, okay, so my last few months of pregnancy, I watched Game of Thrones from the beginning because I think I started in season 5 or 6 watching it.
I think you started in season 4.
Oh, well, at the very end of season 4. So I was like, well, let me go back and watch it because, I'm just waiting for this baby to come. So, and I'm glad I did. So, yeah, I'm really ready for it to.
All the Chucky movies.
Well,
Yeah, so I know that got you excited for it. It really just showed maybe one new scene of Jon Snow. The rest was old scenes and just had Cersei, Lena Headey doing a voiceover. It's more of a hype video than it is an actual trailer, but
I just can't believe it's the final season.
I know, and HBO. So beyond that, bigger news than the trailer is HBO announced it's going to be hitting in April. The rumored premiere date, and it's going to be 7 episodes. They're all going to be at least
just 7.
Yeah, but they're all an hour and a half to 2 hours long. Every episode is going to be movie length. And
that's crazy.
The rumor is it's going to hit April 28th, which HBO is going to kick ass in 2019 because in January, True Detective Season 3 with Marsha Ali is going to be premiering. I want to watch that. So first season of True Detective, freaking epic. Second season, not that great with Vince Vaughn. Third season looks like it's going to get back to form. And then, Abby, your favorite show was
Big Little Lies.
Yeah, Big Little Lies. Nicole
the best.
Kidman, Reese Witherspoon.
Good actresses, good soundtrack.
Good wine.
Good wine. Yeah.
So think about this. They're going to go from 7 Sundays having True Detective, 7 or 8. Then 7 or 8 Sundays of having Big Little Lies.
Yep.
And then 7 or 8 Sundays of having... We're in the Christmas spirit here already on the Confirmed podcast. 7 or 8 Sundays of Game of Thrones, the final season. I was kind of hoping they would wait to the summer to put this out, to be honest with you. What do you think about the decision to bring it back in April instead of hold it this summer like last time?
Well, didn't it usually come out in April originally?
Yeah,
so I think that's fine.
Every season
it's been a while,
April.
so I think April's fine.
Yeah, and it will still go into the summer, but it's always in the summer, there's no TV whatsoever. Whereas in April and the spring, you have a lot of...
Well, in the summer, you're out doing stuff anyway. Because you're going to be out out of school all summer, so you're going to have...
Usually, that's how people think about it. But with Game of Thrones, last time it came on, it was the only show that was on. So it's all people were talking about as opposed to... In the spring, you got so many shows on, but I think you make a good point, Abby, in which you say that's when Game of Thrones started. It's always kind of been that way, so why not let Game of Thrones finish there, right?
Right.
What's the number one thing you're most excited about with Game of Thrones coming back? What?
The dragons.
Yeah, but what do you want answered? Is there any question you want answered? Any character you want to be killed? Any character that you want to live?
Well, I want Jon Snow to live.
Who do you want to be on the Iron Throne?
Jon Snow.
Yeah, I don't think that'll happen, though. I think...
Well, who do you think, Dany?
No, I think the Iron Throne's going to be seen as a symbol of oppression, and they'll find some way to destroy it. And each kingdom, the North and
so
King's Land, and it'll be given sovereignty over themselves.
Okay.
And that will be a sign. I think the dragons will melt down the throne. And that will just be a big symbolic thing. What do you think?
Drogon and
Rhaegal. Because we got Viserion. He's done turned his back and become an ice
He's part
breather.
of the White Walkers now, which is sad.
That's so sad.
It is.
I saw McFarlane Toys is coming out with this giant, Viserion.
The evil one?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And he's breathing ice. So that'll be something you'll get for your birthday next year.
No,
I'm just kidding. All right, Abby, let's move from one thing you love to another. Jack White. You love Jack White.
Yeah.
The musical
Where are you
artist.
going with this?
So I read a story this morning at slashfilm.com that when Bradley Cooper took A Star Is Born, and he directed this movie and he starred in it. And he had no musical background whatsoever. He learned how to play piano, guitar,
for the movie role
lessons. Yeah, and we hadn't seen A Star Is Born.
No, not yet, but we need to.
We'll see it when it comes out. But he didn't want to be the lead role. He actually wanted Jack White to play the lead role.
Really?
In A Star Is Born. Isn't this crazy?
Wow.
And I have a fun fact for you. You may know this. I didn't know this.
What?
Did you know that, and you know this, I know you do, that Jack White is Elvis in Walk the Line? Did you know that?
No, he's not. No, he's not. It's that guy that was in the OC or...
No, he was in...
Or, what's the other one?
I'm sorry.
What was it?
I'm messing with you.
One of those other...
Elvis in Walk Hard. The Dewey Cox story.
Oh, well, no, I've never seen that, so I didn't know
It's a terrible movie.
Well,
but I've heard he actually is pretty good as Elvis in that movie. Like, it's it's a funny part. But
what was the other show, the OC, and then
One Tree Hill?
He was in One Tree Hill.
Name? Tyler or something.
I don't know.
But he was a pretty good Elvis for...
no.
I mean, yeah, but he's next to Joaquin Phoenix as...
I know, you can't
Johnny
do that.
Cash, so that makes him...
It's all about cash in that movie anyway, so...
Yeah, but he is... in Walk Hard, he's Elvis.
I was like, no, he's not in Walk the Line.
I had no idea. All right. So, don't ever watch Walk Hard.
Watch Walk the Line instead.
Oh, yeah. We have a poster of that in our living room. One of Abby's favorite movies. But let's get into our featured topic, which is going to be a tribute to Stan Lee that culminates in counting down his top 10 cameos, not just MCU, but every Marvel cameo he's ever made, and he has done a ton. It was really sad news, Abby, when I found out Stan Lee died.
How old was he officially? 95?
He was 95, and he died on Veterans Day, and he was a veteran. He was in World War II.
Really?
And he never did combat. He actually was a writer. He worked with Dr. Seuss in World War II. Yes, this is a fun fact. He worked with Dr. Seuss in World War II, and they wrote together.
Two icons.
They wrote the training manuals and any of the things that had to be put out to the troops in World War II, and like weapons manuals and all that stuff. Nowadays, that would all just be on the internet.
Yeah.
But they would do it all on the computer. But they wanted these writers who had some writing experience to come in and do that. So I thought that was pretty cool. I read that today online. But, I mean, my thoughts on Stan Lee is this dude was like the Walt Disney of our time. Like, he created modern mythology. Mm-hmm. Like, these characters like Zeus and Hercules and stuff that we learned about in school growing up, I think hundreds and hundreds of years from now, I think characters like Spider-Man, Iron Man, Thor are going to be
timeless.
Yeah, they're timeless, and they're going to kind of be seen like those mythological characters are today.
Well,
you're already starting to see that.
He helped give power to the oppressed through his storytelling.
I mean, yeah, he was the one who gave nerds a voice. He gave minorities a voice through characters like Black Panther. One of the best things that I saw online was Al Sharpton published an article, the Reverend Al Sharpton, saying that Stan Lee did more for minorities than Congress has done.
Well,
and he said that, I want to get this exact quote that Sharpton said. He said, what he did by making black heroes black and non-white and other went toward changing the psychology of America. It changed it more than if he passed legislation in the Capitol. Because if you change how kids grow up thinking, they'll act different. He helped change how Americans thought. And that's true. Nobody's born racist.
No.
But it's ignorance that is taught to them and inherited to by their parents and grandparents. And what hate breeds hate. That's an old cliche. But it is a true cliche. And it's a cliche for a reason. But he said by showing like truly that minorities can be heroic and the oppressed can have a voice and be heroic, that it really changed how younger generations
But I think it all started because he was Jewish.
Yeah, he was
Jewish.
So
that's kind of what initiated everything.
Yeah.
He wanted to give Jewish people a voice because this was right after World War II.
Another one of the great tributes I saw was the original Avengers, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Jeremy Renner, Mark Ruffalo. They came out, Chris Hemsworth, of course.
Well, they all did, right?
They took out a page. No, a bunch of people came out, but they took out a full-page ad in the Hollywood Reporter thanking Stan Lee. I thought this was cool. It was a black Avengers logo, and the lettering was in white. Here's what they had to say: "We acknowledge his creative contribution to thousands of men and women. It has long employed the millions that will continue to be entertained, and above all, his inimitable wit, grace, and humility. Stan, we love you. We will miss you. We're grateful to represent a small part of your amazing legacy." And I thought that was very well said and very classy of them, because without Stan Lee, there is no MCU.
Jobs, yeah.
There is no Marvel movies. Who knows what this country or this world's like without somebody as good and iconic and just an ambassador for not just Marvel but comic books as Stan Lee was. A quote I heard, and I apologize for not giving credit on this quote. I cannot remember who said it. I think I may have heard it on the Talking Comics podcast, but they said there will never be a world without Stan Lee, because his creations are going to live on forever, and they're going to inspire forever. There's always going to be Spider-Man, Hulk, the X-Men, the Avengers, and I think that is just, any time a loved one impacts families, friends, they leave a legacy.
For generations and generations like that.
But he is going to leave one that is going to be more impactful than I think he could have ever known. And I think that is something to be proud of. And, of course, he was a man who was, I call him like geekdom's grandpa. And Abby, what were kind of your general thoughts on Stan Lee? Like, just as a person, as a creator, like you saw him pop up in all the MCU cameos. Like, what do you think about Stan Lee?
Well, I think it was cool that you actually got to meet him in person.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell that story here in a second. And I told that, in the past, but it's worth retelling.
I'm not a huge comic book fan like you are, so it doesn't, he wrote these characters.
This would be like Paul McCartney dying for you. That's how much Stan Lee means to me.
Don't even say that.
And it would have been like not only Paul McCartney dying, but which you're going to see him live. That's awesome.
Yes.
Next year.
In May.
God willing. But it would be like you have saw Paul McCartney live and met Paul McCartney, but then he passed. I think the fact that I met him makes his passing a little bit
he was
harder.
Real to you.
Yeah, he
is real, but in a way you saw him in person and you had a conversation with him.
I did. So you may not have like a connection with him like I do and his characters.
I think he was a great person.
Yeah, he was a genuinely good person. But let me ask you this. Who is your favorite, or what is your favorite Stan Lee creation? Like character-wise? Yeah. I think I know your answer, but I want you to
say it.
No, you.
No, I want you to say it.
What Marvel character do you love the most?
I want to see if you can get it right.
It's Captain America.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, which he co-created with Joe Simon. Actually predated Marvel. Marvel used to be called Timely.
Did he create Spider-Man, or did he co-create that too?
Well, he co-created it with Steve Ditko, but he's the man who Steve Ditko drew Spider-Man and designed him, but Stan, created the character. That's always kind of been the thing with Stan. He claims to have created all these characters, and he did.
But he co-created every character, didn't he? Somebody else was there with him.
Mainly Jack Kirby. Jack Kirby co-created the...
I had no
Avengers,
idea
Fan 4.
who even Captain America was until the movies came out. So
Really?
No, I didn't.
You never
I didn't even know, really who Iron Man was. And I think that goes for a lot of people. Because, we know Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, the Hulk, big characters like that. But I didn't know any of those other characters. I didn't know X-Men, but I guess unless you're into comic books, you don't really...
It wasn't as mainstream growing up. Now,
it wasn't.
If you were growing up now, you would know these characters because they're everywhere in pop culture.
Oh, yeah,
They're
for
on
sure.
book
You
bags,
have to live under a
lunchboxes.
rock to not know these characters now.
Yeah, even if you don't want to know these characters,
They're in your face.
especially if you live with me.
Yeah.
But
oh, God.
my favorite creation of his is Spider-Man. You know,
I think that's a lot of people's too.
It's overused, and it's become almost a joke at some points. It's been so much overused, but I've really been thinking about it this week, and you can apply this to so many situations in your life. With great power comes great responsibility. The famous Stan Lee written Spider-Man mantra. And that's so true. You can look at you as a nurse, me as a teacher.
The president?
Well, let's not even talk about him. He doesn't.
No, I'm saying in general, not this one. But
well, personally, I'm a teacher. God knows it doesn't make much money, but I have a great power working with these young people, being able to shape their minds and open their minds to new things and discuss top meaningful topics, especially in a history
that's good.
classroom. Whether
and it's good that you take that
politics.
seriously, because there's some teachers that don't take that seriously.
And I have this power, but with great power comes great responsibility, and I have a responsibility to these kids to try to do the best I can for them every day and try to challenge them and present them with things that will hopefully make them more open-minded and understanding to other people in society and throughout history. And with you as a nurse, think of the power you have over a loved one's life, the responsibility you have over a loved one's life, and you do with that good things, Abby. You do the very best to serve your patients and to provide quality care. And you can say this about so many things. Yes, you mentioned politics, but anybody that has power, whether you're the president or you're a manager at McDonald's, with great power comes great responsibility.
Any kind of role model.
But it's more about that line always to me is what good can you do with the power and responsibility that you have? Because you can either use it for good or, like so many of Stan Lee's great villains, like Dr. Doom, for example, you can use it for evil. And I think that's just something that will be timeless and live on for generations and generations. But I did meet Stan Lee. I've told this story a couple times in the past, but I'll go ahead and tell it again if you hadn't heard it. And I've told people this the past couple days since Stan passed. And I met him at Heroes Con 2012. It was the 30th anniversary of the show. He was the guest of honor. I didn't go to the mountains with your family that weekend. This was the same weekend you found out you passed the boards for nursing.
Yeah, that's right.
And I would have went, but I was like, Abby, I got to stay behind and meet Stan Lee. And I paid $55 to meet him. And I waited in line for 6.5 hours. God. And I'm waiting in line, and he's just signing. They got him behind a curtain, so he's like the Wizard of Oz. You get behind the curtain, and it's like, it was surreal seeing him. Because you've seen him on TV, you've seen him in movies.
I understand.
Seen him on the internet, but it was surreal seeing him in person. He's just sitting there signing. And so many people are either not wanting to say something because they don't want to hold up the line.
They just want to sign and make the line keep moving.
Of course, you had people getting stuff signed to sell, but also, they were starstruck. They were scared to say something, and I was nervous too. But I was like, I'm saying something to him. This is a once in a lifetime. I mean, this is a chance for me to not only see, but to speak
to one of your heroes.
Yeah. Like, I could not pass it up. I mean, so I get up there.
I think people are scared, though, because they're afraid to have a bad experience, because then they're just going to... Exactly.
This was the complete opposite. It made me love Stan Lee even more, if that was possible. Get up there with my Spider-Man 2 poster. He's got his Sharpie about to sign it. And I was like, Stan, I said, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the great characters you created. This meant a lot to me. But I was like, thank you so much for Spider-Man, because he meant so much to me, inspired so much. He inspired me so much growing up, and he got me through some hard times watching his stories, reading his stories. And Stan put his Sharpie down. He pulled his glasses down to his nose. He always had those sunglasses.
Yeah.
And he pointed at me. He said, I did them all for you, bud. And I started.
But you'll have that memory forever.
I started tearing up because, I mean, I'm sure he said that line a million times.
But it meant something to you because, you know, you've read all his comic, the character.
A lot of them, yeah. And it made me just think, like, he did this for me. He did this for so many people like me to make a positive difference and put something good out into the world when there's so much just trash now out there.
Yeah.
There's so much negativity. He never put anything out into the world that was negative. Mm-hmm. And I think in a world of social media where people put something negative out because
that's what sells stories,
minute and every second, I think that this is, I think that it will separate him and make him timeless. And I was just so lucky I got to meet him, and that it was worth every penny. It was worth.
Oh God, yeah. The fact that you only paid $55, that doesn't seem like a lot for me.
Yeah.
To meet somebody of that stature.
But we got it framed, and unfortunately, it's a huge poster we can't display. But
it takes up like
two
most of the wall.
spots.
I'm saying from top to bottom, the length and the width.
But hopefully one day we will have a bigger house.
Well, yeah, this is our starter home.
Well, hopefully, and then we can display it. But man, that meant a lot to me, more than, you know, he could ever know. But it does make me really, really sad.
Yeah, that is a big loss for the world.
It is. But may he rest in peace. He will live forever in the characters that he created. So let's try to
and it's a blessing that he lived to the age of 50 or 95.
95, yeah.
You know, that's a long time.
So let's go ahead and celebrate the life of Stan Lee by counting down something that he was well known for the general public at least, which is his cameos.
His cameos in the movies.
In Marvel movies, not just the MCU, but all Marvel movies and all Marvel TV. So we're going to count down 10 to 1.
Is this what you chose?
This is what we chose, Abby.
Okay.
All right. So we're going to go 10 to 1. Yeah, this is not. Now, let me just preface. I don't consider this list to be the best as far as the definitive top 10 Stan Lee cameos.
This is just your favorite.
My favorite. Yeah, my favorite. So we're going to start with number 10, which is Iron Man in 2008.
Hey, Tony. Remember me?
Sure don't. Look great, Hef.
I mean, this is the famous Hugh Hefner cameo.
Oh, Iron Man.
It was the first MCU movie, 2008. Iron Man's being hit on by a girl, Tony Stark at this point, walking into an event. He's Stark Industries headline. He's just like, hey, Hef, do you like this cameo? I think it's funny.
Yeah, that's cute.
There's another iconic old guy, Hugh Hefner, in a very different way. He put a lot of things out into the world, too. You can debate whether that was positive or negative. I thought it was just really funny to see Stan Lee playing this part, you know, because Hugh Hefner and Stan Lee are so similar, but so different.
Yeah,
I can see that. They both were just trailblazers and icons.
Yeah.
You know, one created
Hugh Hefner
Marvel
lived
comics.
for a long time, too. He was in his 80s, though.
One basically created pornography, if you think about it. But it was classy. It was classy.
I mean,
right?
I don't know, but...
But, man, I thought that was a good one. And it started the tradition of Stan Lee.
He found Marilyn Monroe, right?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But that's a different topic for a different
day
podcast,
and a different host.
But he had been in other Marvel stuff, but this started the tradition that he would be in the MCU movies. So not, you know, a ton to talk about here, but just a very good one. So that's number 10. Him as Hugh Hefner in the first Iron Man. Let's move on to our number 9, which is Stan Lee in Thor trying to pull the hammer out.
Did it work?
Abby, I think the thing is there's two different kinds of Stan Lee cameos on this list, and both in general. There's the ones that are really meaningful, and he gives like meaningful
and then the
life.
Humorous ones.
Yeah, lessons, and this is a humorous one. The first Thor, not the best movie.
I've never seen it, so I can't contribute to it.
The second Thor is just a piece of crap.
I've only seen Ragnarok, which was good.
Which is the best. But you watch this clip. I mean, pretty damn funny when you see this old guy hauling ass in a pickup trying to get Mjolnir. I mean, it's just, it's good. That's the thing about Stan Lee is he would here's this guy who I would say is family friendly, but he would really, put himself out there. Like, don't forget about the Deadpool cameo where he is DJing in the strip club in Deadpool 2. So I thought that was.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah.
Was that the first one or second one?
I think that was the second Deadpool.
I don't remember that one.
He even cameoed in the Deadpool trailer.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you like this clip?
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. So let's move on to our number 8, which is going to be Stan Lee in Winter Soldier as the security guard.
Wear that?
No. If you're gonna fight a war, you gotta wear a uniform.
Oh, man. I am so fired.
So here he is, Abby, in one of your favorite characters' movies, and one of the best, if not the best, Marvel movie, period.
Yes.
Captain
it is the
America,
best.
Winter Soldier. What do you think about this one?
I like it. I think it's cute that he's the little security guard with his little flashlight, and he's like looking, and Captain America's suit's gone, and he's like, "Oh shit, I'm fired."
And even better is the scene like right before this where I think Winter Soldier, no, not Winter Soldier, because they're going to fight Winter Soldier. I think Falcon asked Cap, you're gonna go like that, and he's like, no way, or something.
Yeah, where's my suit?
And then it cuts to the Stan Lee scene. It's like this very powerful moment followed by this funny
comedic moment.
And that's kind of how the Marvel movies are
but that's
in general.
Good. You need some
good.
lightheartedness.
And it fits that universe. So our number 8 is him as the security guard in Winter Soldier. Let's go to our number 7, which is him as the burnt out hippie in Ant-Man 2.
Well, the 60s were fun, but now I'm paying for it.
And we just saw this one.
I know. And literally, we just saw this.
We just saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, which we enjoyed, and it's just it really hits home that he's not going to be in these movies anymore. Now he did film for Avengers 4, and he's rumored to film for the Spider-Man Far From Home, which comes out next summer. That's going to be hard seeing him in those.
That is going to be weird, but you don't expect to see him. It's not like you go into a movie saying, oh, I wonder what he's going to do this time in this movie. But when you see him in the actual movie, you're like, oh, Stanley, there he is. There's this cameo.
There's always that one guy that's like, look, it's him.
I know. Yeah. It's like a game of I Spy or Where's Waldo. It's like, there he is.
And some of them are real overt, and some of them are more subtle where he does just appear. But most of the Marvel movies,
the MCU.
The MCU, yeah, they definitely are more overt. But I thought this is hilarious to see Stan Lee saying he's been on psychedelics,
a trip through the 60s,
and then he's losing his mind. So yeah, I really
now
enjoyed
that you say
one.
that though, that is really sad that you're not gonna get that experience anymore. But
and one thing is too, you're not gonna get that experience anymore. But it's not like The Last Jedi with Carrie Fisher, because she was going to be a big part of that movie, one of the main characters. And
Princess Leia.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher is Princess Leia. You were like, I'm kind of dreading this because this is the last movie she's going to be in, and seeing her is going to be weird. But with Stan Lee, it's just going to be like you said. It's going to be right there, sudden. I don't know if that's good or bad because you'll be anticipating it. But at the same time, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. So that was our number 7, was Ant-Man 2. So let's move on to our next Stan Lee cameo, which is number 6, is Stan Lee as a FedEx truck driver.
Oh, my favorite one.
Announcing,
or one of my favorites, I think.
Delivery for the one, the only, Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stank.
You okay?
Are you Tony Stank?
Yes, this is Tony Stank.
Abby, what'd you think when you saw this cameo at the end of Civil War?
I thought it was necessary because Civil War was so heavy anyway.
Yes, it's a great way to just put that levity.
And Marvel's so good at that. It's it's something heavy happens and it's like, oh, but here's something lighthearted. Because in DC Universe, it's all heavy.
Yes.
And it's like, God, this is awful.
But the thing is, too, here, you have, like you said, this terrible moment where basically James Rhodes, War Machine, played by Don Cheadle, has lost his ability to walk.
Yeah.
And they're trying to rehab him. And then you have Stan Lee just come in and, like you said, lighten the
mood up.
The mood. And this is one that has definitely been quoted and really stuck with.
And I thought it was clever, too,
people.
the play on the name Stark with Stank.
Yeah, Tony Stank. Go on to our number 5, which is Stan Lee as the bus driver in Avengers Infinity War.
Hey, I need you to cause a distraction.
Holy shit. We're all gonna die! There's a spaceship!
What's the matter with you kids? You never seen a spaceship before?
Obviously, anytime I see Stan with Spider-Man, it's just like...
synonymous.
Yeah, and it really hits home with me because, like I said, that character, as I told him,
that
means
character
so much
is
to
iconic,
me.
though, and he's been iconic since before we've been born.
Yeah, since he was created in the 60s, and especially throughout the 1970s.
Yeah.
But the kids, hadn't you ever seen a spaceship before? It kind of goes along with, I like to think this is the same Stan Lee that's in Ant-Man, who's just been tripping balls in the 60s, and he's just like seeing spaceships appear, and he's just
like, y'all haven't seen that before?
First of all, I love Stan Lee, but would they really let a guy that old drive a kid full of buses?
No.
A kid full of buses, a bus full of kids.
Kid full of
I sound
buses.
like I've been through the 1960s now. Would they allow him to drive? Probably not.
No,
probably not.
Probably not.
I wonder if that bus was even really moving.
No, it was on a green screen for sure.
But again, it's kind of, this is a little different because whereas those other ones were like, all this shit's going down and here's a return to levity. In this one, you know a bunch of shit's about to go down with Thanos, but you have this moment of kind of appropriate Marvel humor. And
just
that
a
movie
little moment.
It's dark. That is the darkest Marvel movie. Abby, you don't like Infinity War as much as I do, and a lot of people do because you think it's just so dark. Is that right?
No.
Oh,
yeah.
But they say Avengers 4 is going to be much darker.
I don't know. I'm not really looking forward to it.
Speaking of Avengers, let's go to our number 4, Avengers Age of Ultron, which is Stan Lee as the World War II vet.
No. See, this was aged for 1,000 years. And the barrels built from the wreck of Grunho's fleet is not meant for mortal men.
Neither was Omaha Beach, Blondie. Stop trying to scare us. Come on.
All right.
Excelsior.
So he drinks it and says Excelsior. So he said that a lot.
Excelsior was kind of like Stan Lee's mantra or catchphrase. That and face front, true believers.
Did he come up with that himself?
Yeah, he kind of did come up with Excelsior. Excelsior is just like kind of, I guess, a sentiment of goodwill, like move on, kind of like greetings and salutations.
Like may the force be with you kind of thing?
Exactly. That's kind of what Excelsior is for my, just continue to excel, continue to do well, continue to try your best, continue to, just to keep a positive attitude. And it's an odd word, and it's something that Stan Lee made his own, but he says it in this hilarious clip where they're having the party at Age of Ultron before things go bad with Ultron, which Thor brings some Asgard beer or liquor to the party, and he lets Steve try it. Of course, it doesn't affect Steve that much, but Stan wants to try it. He's like, it won't compare to Omaha Beach because he's playing, which he was a World War II vet, but he's playing a World War II vet here, and he drinks it and he gets completely drunk. So I thought that was hilarious. I wonder if there was any cameo that they asked Stan Lee to do a line, and he said, "I'm not doing this."
Probably not.
I can't see him
he
saying
seems
no.
pretty open-minded to everything,
Yeah.
Even if it is racy.
Yeah, like the Deadpool strip club
right.
scene. But yeah, I like this one.
I think he's just down for whatever.
All right, let's go to our number 3, which is not the best movie, but one of the best Stan Lee cameos, which is The Amazing Spider-Man, the first one in 2012, the
with
library
Garfield.
scene. Abby, this is most people's favorite or second favorite Stanley.
Probably my favorite.
Why?
Because he has no idea what the hell is happening behind him. He's got his headphones in and like the library. There's a table hurtling at him. He has no idea because Spider-Man catches it with his web and chucks it the opposite direction. And all this crap's going down, and he's like oblivious to it.
Is it because of the drugs in the 60s? Is this the same Stan Lee?
It might be. It probably is.
Yeah, this is, as far as like the comedic
it's just
ones,
the most
the
memorable one for me, because I was like, when
and
you
don't
told me,
even like that movie.
No.
Yeah,
but that was probably the best part of the movie.
Yeah, that was.
Well, I remember watching that and being like, oh my god, that's really funny, actually.
Yeah, people died when that came on in the
movie.
theater.
I was like, this movie wasn't considered part of the MCU because, you know, Spider-Man, they didn't have the rights yet. So I was like, you know, I know he's been in those other movies, but this one, it's like you don't anticipate it, but then all of a sudden you see him and you're like, oh yeah.
Know he was gonna be in.
Yeah, you don't expect it, especially in that, because it's like I thought only in the MCU had rights because I didn't know about, you know, the other movies, and
they kind of gave him special privileges.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
I thought it was cool to see him in that. I was like, okay, yeah, he's in that too. That's awesome. You know, he's allowed to be a part of that since that is his character. So I definitely remember that because I remember in my head thinking, you know, oh yeah, he should show up in this movie. I'm glad they let him.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one too. So let's move on to our number 2, which is most people. I think if you did a poll on the internet of favorite Stan Lee cameos, this would be number 1. It is his role with the Watchers in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Oh, man. Anyway, before I was so rudely interrupted, at that time, I was a Federal Express man.
Hey, fellas. Hey, wait, where are you going? Hey, you were supposed to be my lift home. How will I get out of here? Hey, gee, I've got so many more stories to tell. Guys, gee.
So why do Marvel fans love this, Abby? In the comic books, there is this entity known as the Watchers. Sometimes there's more than one. It is the Watchers. And they are beings, cosmic beings who gather to basically just watch the most significant events in the history of the world. So for us, they would watch like World War II and World War I. They're just observers. They're not there to
what's the freaking point?
Action. Just that they're kind of taking note of the history of the universe. They're almost like the record keepers of the history of the universe. They're called the Watchers. And they were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I believe they first appeared in Silver Surfer or Fantastic Four, one of those two. And I love this because it's almost like he's been, the whole Marvel universe in the movies, the MCU, has kind of been, at least implied by this scene, Stan Lee telling the Watchers all this stuff.
Yeah. And then he has more stories to tell when they start walking away. It's like, okay, what else does this guy have to say?
Exactly. So does that make you like that scene just a tad better?
When you said that, yeah, when I watched it, I was like,
You didn't get it.
No, yeah.
It was a deep cut. It was definitely a scene for like hardcore Marvel fans. Like, if you ask the average Marvel person who knows Spider-Man and the Avengers, they're not going to know who the Watchers are.
Yeah.
And the movie didn't explain it. It was just something that was there for the fans. And I kind of like
Well, that's cool that they include that, though, for the comic book fans. Because, you know, it's like an Easter egg for you guys. Yeah.
But I will say this, and this is going to, I hope not to sound morbid, I like to think this is kind of maybe what Stan Lee's doing up in heaven right now. Is that he's talking to other people and he's telling them all these stories about his life and these characters. And of course, hopefully he's reunited with loved ones like his wife Joan. But to me, that's how I like to think that Stan Lee's doing. That maybe he's talking to my grandfather who used to buy his comics and just telling him these stories. So I think that's pretty cool. All right, now to my all-time favorite one, which was a movie that disappointed me, but the cameo that sticks with me the most, which is his cameo of giving life advice to Tobey Maguire's Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3 in 2007.
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
First of all, this is why it's my favorite Stan Lee cameo. To me, it's the one that represents him as a man and what he intended his characters to do for people the best of any of the cameos. It's definitely a serious cameo that you can make a difference being a good person.
Right.
You know, whether you're a teacher, a nurse, whether you're the president of the United States, whether you're a surgeon, whether being
anybody,
good to
though,
people can make a difference. And you doing something positive.
Any
for
act
a
of
person,
kindness can make a difference to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are.
Yeah, there's so many times I've been discouraged in teaching. Then I hear these stories of kids who tell me when they're a senior that they were going to drop out until they came to my class. Yeah. Or I inspired them to be a teacher. And it's like, that...
It makes you keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And to me, that is what that scene is in a nutshell. That it reminds us all that you are making a difference if you're being good and kind.
Even
to
if
others.
you don't realize it at the time, like after the fact, when you get that kind of like, you know, what am I thinking of the word? Pregnancy brain.
That kind of like impact.
Compliment.
That kind of compliment.
Yeah. Because I've had that a lot in nursing. Like, I love what I do.
You have people write you letters and let you know.
Well, I have, like, sometimes I get discouraged. I'm like, should I really be doing this? But then I have, like, little moments with a patient where they thank me and they hold my hand. And that means the world to me. Like, nothing can mean more. Yeah, nothing can mean more to me. And this happened this past week when I had a pancreatic cancer patient hold my hand. It meant everything to me.
What did he or she say?
He just held my hand and said, thank you, go home, get some rest. He said, you worked hard today. He didn't know everything that I did that day, but the fact that he could connect with me, hold my hand, it didn't matter what he said at that point. Just the fact that he held my hand and like looked me in the eye was everything. That's why I do what I do.
And that goes back to with great power comes great responsibility. You have the power to make this positive impact in this person's life you don't even know, and the responsibility of their health care. And it goes into what Stan told Tobin in this movie that, you know, one person made a difference that day.
Yeah.
You made a difference in that guy's life. If you would have been awful and not have taken your responsibility and your power seriously, that could have made that guy's day.
But I just think about
limited amount of days left on this earth, just a bad experience.
But I just think about like how I want like a family member to be treated. Yeah. I wouldn't want them to just be set to the side. So it does mean a lot.
That's what makes Stan Lee so special, that his stories, his characters, his messages, his life, him as a person resonates with so many different people from so many different backgrounds, so many different walks of life.
And they can relate to it.
Rich, poor,
but that's
gay,
like,
straight.
That's huge for
black,
that amount of people to be like connected in that way. Like, to be that relevant, that's rare.
There's not much of a sense of decency and morality in the world that we live in, especially the country right now.
But so I think it's just a little glitch in America's history. I really do.
That's why superheroes are so popular right now, and why Stan's message
Wonder
resonates.
Woman, the fact that Wonder Woman came out, was it right after Trump was elected president? Was huge. Spoke huge volumes. Like, there was this fierce woman going out there.
Here's a fierce woman.
She will be one day. She's a force to be reckoned with. Let me just put that out there. But just the fact that here was this woman who was a force to be reckoned with, and like Trump was downgrading women his whole campaign. It was like, that's awesome.
I think that's why heroes are so popular, because it gives people hope in a time period we're in right now, like a little blip.
It does. It's
in what feels like hopeless, and it's like, no, there is hope. You can make.
There is good out there.
Maybe you can't. You can't.
You can't
be good, but you know what? You can be good to other people.
And that's what's important. That's what's better. American.
Yeah.
Because when 9/11 happened, we didn't crumble. We like came together. We took care of each other. That's what's neat. That's what we need to do.
And Stan Lee lived the American dream. Here's somebody who he was writing comics at Timely Comics, which was what Marvel was called. They were going to fire him, and he had been writing Western comics that nobody was reading. And so he's like, he was discouraged. He wanted to quit. His real name wasn't Stan Lee. It was like Stan Schreiber or something, Schreiber or something like that.
Is that his real name?
Yeah, because he didn't want to put his real name in comics, because he was going to write novels one day. And he didn't want to, degrade his real name with comics. So he goes home, he's discouraged, and his wife tells him, you know what, go in tomorrow, write the story you want to write. What's the worst that could happen?
What a good woman she is.
They're going to fire you anyway. So he went in the next day, and he wrote the script for Fantastic Four, which was the first ever Marvel comic. If she doesn't tell him that, and he doesn't take that chance, so many people's lives are
affected,
and for the worse. So when she died, Marvel did a big tribute to her, because without her, there would be no Marvel Stan Lee comics either, or there's no Stan Lee as we know Stan Lee. So Stan, Excelsior.
So she's like the Linda McCartney of comic book world.
Yes. So in the immortal words of Stan Lee, Excelsior, face front, true believers. And thank you, Stan Lee, for everything you did for me and all the inspirations you provided for millions around the world. And I think that's just about going to wrap it up for the 102nd edition, hard to believe, of the Confirmed Epic Podcast. Abby, where can people find more of you on the internet this week?
Honey, don't even ask that. You know what the answer is.
As for me, you can find me on Twitter at @TheRealBradBell, DREEL Brad Bell. You can find this podcast on the Geeks Worldwide Radio Network, DGWW.com, on ActionFigureBarbecue.com, and of course at us home on the Epic Review, THEpicReview.com. We want to thank you for tuning in to our tribute to Stan Lee, and we hope that you will join Abby and I next week as we attempt to review The Meg before Jerry steps in for his weekly rotating spot, in which we plan to review the Nicolas Cage movie, Mandy. So once again, from the Hollywood foothills of North Carolina, we are out.
I think whatever you do, you should do what you most want to do and what you're best at. Too many people don't really do what their heart's desire is, but they try to do something else because they think, well, it'll be easier to get a job or to make money. And if that happens, then when you're doing it, you feel like you're working. But if you do what you really want to do, you feel like you're playing. It's easier for you to do.
That's all I have to say about that.
This has been a production of the GWW Radio Network. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud. Also, check out Geeks Worldwide at thegww.com for all the latest news, reviews, and opinions on video games, comics, movies, TV, cosplay, and more. Geeks, assemble!